welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom and some of you might know me as Bowl of Salmon on Instagram. I'm super excited that in today's video I can bring you the full lineup of new Prospex watches that mark the next iteration in the 1965 Heritage Divers Watch collection. A collection that builds upon the 62 Mass and more recently the SPB143. As I mentioned, all new models are in the studio. We have the blue dial SPB451, the black dial SPB453, and as well as the special edition to celebrate 100 years of Seiko, the SPB455. These watches have been announced in March but will only be available at retailers in June. Now, the reason I'm excited to have these in the studio is that I own an SPB143 myself, and over the years this has been the watch that I had on my wrist on most of my big trips. Maybe it's not my most worn watch anymore today, but every time I see pictures of it online, I'll want to take it out of the box and have it on my wrist. So yes, definitely excited to have these new models in the studio. Let's dive right into it with a direct comparison of both models. Maybe at first glance they appear similar, but to me the subtle refinements were immediately visible and noticeable. Let's start with going over the new case dimensions first. You can see that in about every aspect Seiko managed to fine-tune the dimensions, making this watch even more wearable. The diameter has been brought back to 40mm, the lug-to-lug is a tad shorter now too. On paper, that reduced thickness shouldn't make a difference, but in hand or even better on the wrist, you can really notice it. It even appears a lot thinner than the 0.3mm would suggest. It's a bit of an optical trick. The flanks and the new lines of the case profile have been tweaked so the whole package appears thinner, while the case back actually has been made thinner and stronger. This isn't a radical new case design, it is still very much an SPB, there is just a bunch of tweaks and refinements that make this feel a nice evolution of an already great looking case. The water resistance has been improved and now goes up to 300 meters. Increasing the water resistance while making the whole package just a little thinner is something Seiko can be proud of. Most of the times a thicker case would be the result of that. So 100 meters of extra water resistance compared to the previous model, I guess it's time to get wet. The black version has a matte black dial and bezel with white printing, a perfectly executed monochromatic design that I'm sure will sell like hotcake. The blue version is my favorite though, with a subtle enough sunray finish on the dark blue dial and a matching blue bezel. This, paired with the white hands, the indices and text, I just really like it. The special edition has a charcoal grey dial that probably looks most like the dial on the SPB143. Different from the other models, the hands, the indices and the bezel all have gold accents. The movement got an upgrade too. From the 6R35 we now have the 6R55 inside. A movement previously used in some King Seiko models. With 2 extra hours of power reserve, it brings the total up to 72 hours or 3 days in total. And if you ask Seiko, 3 days is now sufficient to brag about it on the dial. Yes, on the dial there's 2 lines of text, with the first line now reading automatic 3 days and the second line reads divers 300 meters. On the topic of the dial, I guess the talking point is the position of the date. Every iteration thus far saw something different. My version has the date at 3, the second generation brought an extra loom pip next to the date, and now the new models have a full loom plot at 3 o'clock and they moved the date window between the indices at 4 and 5. The date window is now rounded and the date disc matches the color of the dial. I'll share my thoughts about the date window in the conclusion of this video. In terms of movement accuracy, as I only had the watches with me for a couple of hours, and as you can probably tell these were fitted with a dummy movement, I can't really say much about the accuracy. But the website lists these to being accurate to +25 to -15 seconds per day. My SPB was never the king of accuracy, so I can only assume new movements would perform better, right? The bracelet has been refined a bit too. The links are shorter, the clasp is shorter, but it still has this bulky 3-part design as it still houses the diver extension. How they managed to make the clasp shorter is by dropping some of the micro extensions. The new model now only has 1 micro extension, where the previous one had 3. Now the bracelet looks a little more refined, the shorter lugs definitely help. Overall the bracelet is more comfortable, not a step back but not a big step up either in terms of finishing. The end links have a different design and the new bracelet is not backwards compatible with the older SPB143 case. But the drilled lock holes in the case are still there, making strap changes super easy. The anniversary edition SPB455 did come with an extra Seichu strap and I did quickly try that on. This strap is made from recycled plastic bottles and created with a Japanese weaving technique called Seichu. It's a really good looking strap, it felt very comfortable, maybe a bit thick, and it is definitely a strap that will keep you warm on cold winter days. The case and bracelet are made from stainless steel and have an ultra hard coating applied. And I can tell you from experience with my SPB that this ultra hard coating isn't just marketing talk. You will easily avoid too many unwanted stories of clumsiness. After 3 years, my SPB still looks near mint. The bezel still feels like the bezel on my SPB. Good grip, the action is buttery smooth, as in it feels like butter. So perhaps too smooth, and it doesn't need much force to move it around. Now, these are demo units and maybe the final version feels different. But I've handled a lot of micro brands in this price point or even well below it, and if I had to critique Seiko for just one thing, it would be that I would like to see them revisit the bezel action so we get a bit more of a real clicky feeling. These aluminum bezel inserts all appear matte, so there is no brushed finishing like on SPB143. Releasing a follow-up to one of my favorite, if not the most favorite watch in my collection, sets certain expectations. Does it deliver? Yes. Does it go beyond that? Well, maybe not, but that is not a deal breaker to me. It's a solid iteration of an already great design. The refinements are there without doing anything upsetting about the design either. And yes, after handling the watches, even the date placement doesn't upset me. I wasn't a fan when I saw it in the press photos, but that was only because it was the first thing I focused on. But honestly, look at the watch first. You'll only notice the date when you go looking for it. Would I like to see a no date version? Oh hell yes, but again, this isn't a deal breaker. These watches are the perfect dive watch for anyone who is looking for a no-nonsense pure dive watch. It has classic looks to die for, and I don't want to downplay 1400 euros not being a lot of money. These watches won't break the bank and you will be able to enjoy these watches day in and day out. To me, this is still one of the best looking dive watches on the market today, and I wouldn't hesitate to add another one to the collection. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are about these. Let me know in the comments down below or come find me on Instagram. If you have any more questions I didn't address, do let me know. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.